On this episode of Locked On Canadiens, another game, another unacceptable effort. Where do we go from here?
You're Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to episode 1174 of Locked On Canadiens. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day and for subscribing on YouTube and wherever you subscribe to podcasts. Doing that supports the show and ensures you don't miss an episode. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I am Ian Boisvert, also known as that Maybe It's Ian. I am joined by the incomparable Laura Saba, also known as the Active Stick. Laura, when will the Canadiens stop?
Stop doing what? Stop, failing at everything?
Just any
Stop
of it.
Being blown out?
Any
Stop
of it.
trying to make fetch happen?
Yeah. What are you feeling after a game like that? A 6-3 loss to the hands of the Washington Capitals on Halloween night?
I mean, obviously, Halloween night is very fitting because that was a terrifying effort by the Montreal Canadiens. The thing to me is that they followed up an 8-2 loss with this, right? And as you pointed out, it wasn't just that the players can't execute, it's the decisions that Marty was making. This is what we were talking about before the show. And I want to know when some of these experiments are going to be called, right? Like, let's call time on them. They're not working. Like, let's stop trying to make it happen, because some things are fixable or you can improve, and some things is just it's done. It can't be happening anymore.
Yeah, and we'll get into all that. We've got a breakdown of that really awful game. We have a discussion to be had on the fate of one Christian Dvorak, who once again stunk it up in very obvious fashion. And then we will hit the weekend on a positive note with your wonderful questions in our favorite segment of the week, our weekly mailbag. But let's start in my nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where nothing else of consequence is happening anytime soon, where the Canadiens came into town and lost again. They have given up at least 5 goals, I believe, in 7 of their 11 games. This one, I don't think you can really pin on Primo. There were moments where he was holding the Canadiens in this game. They just did not capitalize on a lot of the things they needed to capitalize. 1 for 6 on the power play. A minute and a half of 5-on-3 in the third period where Marty says, Christian Dvorak and Yoel Armia, you guys go out there. Armia on the first wave, Dvorak on the second wave. Marty calls timeout before part of that 5-on-3. And, you do that to drop a play that needs to go perfectly in order for you to score. And they win the draw back into the neutral zone, and the entire timeout was a waste of everyone's time. Where are we at with the decision-making that Marty has made? Oh, and I didn't even mention that Emil Heineman was on the first line. I didn't even mention that. Like, that was
one of the experiments I was talking about that I don't want to see anymore.
This is what, as someone who, we both are creating daily content on this team, the sideshows take away from what I thought would be the A plot coming into any of these episodes. Like, Emil Heineman on the top line should be what we're talking about. And it's barely even a story because the rest of the game went the way it did.
Yeah. So I'm convinced, Ian, that Marty's listening to us and then doing things to infuriate us on purpose. Like, we talked about how he never uses his timeouts. So then he decided he's going to do that just at whatever random moment that he feels like.
Yeah.
And, the last couple of games, we've seen a lot of that. It's just, I wonder, with the Christian Dvorak thing, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but I do often wonder if, you're the coach and you don't have an optimal roster, and you talk to your management and your management is like, get better performances out of these guys, right? That's up to you. And honestly, sometimes it's not in them. Sometimes it works and sometimes it's not in them. So I'm wondering if that's what's going on here. It's like, I'm stuck with Dvorak. They're making me make it work. I can't make it work. I'm going to keep trying. It's going to keep failing until they finally listen to me and get rid of him.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to save Dvorak for the second segment because that's going to be, that's my Super Bowl. I cannot wait for that. Yeah. Look, I think I would have called timeout after the 5th Washington goal. They came into the third period tied at 3. They gave up 2 goals in 34 seconds. Marty can bring them in and do sort of a "what the heck are you guys doing out there" moment. And he chose not to do that again. And I think that it was a mistake this time, especially because Washington scored to make it 2-0, and they used the timeout. Well, they didn't use the timeout. They used a challenge. It's not a timeout anymore. It used to be. They used a challenge to challenge it for offside, which was the right thing to do. And it took a goal away, but it also brought everybody on that team back to the bench for a minute. And it gave them a second to regroup. And yes, it was a challenge first and it took a goal away, but it set the Canadiens up. They scored 2 goals immediately after that. It was at the time the turning point of the game. So to then give up 2 goals in rapid succession and not use that timeout to get your guys back together while the game was still at hand. Again, like, I just have a hard time understanding what goes through NHL coaches' heads, because this isn't distinctly a Marty St Louie problem. This is an NHL problem. These coaches love saving that timeout for, let's draw up a play at the end of the game that needs to go perfectly in order for us to score, which it rarely does, and it's a waste of time. I really struggle with that decision making specifically. But that 5-on-3 to me emblemized the entire game. Why is Yoel Armia, in the year of our Lord 2024, playing on a 5-on-3 power play? Like, is Claude Julien the coach? That's Claude Julien stuff. Like, it really is. What did you make of that? Is there a reason we should have seen him out there?
I was just trying to think of it. Is it because he's tough to get off the puck? But it's a 5-on-3. You should assume that you're going to be able to possess the puck for most of that time.
Yeah,
that was
there's
something
more
where I was
space.
wondering. Yeah, I was wondering if that was the thought process behind it, because I that's the time when you put your high risk, high reward players on, the ones with true. I'm sorry, Yoel Armia, but the ones with true scoring talent.
Yeah, it was a step forward and a step back, because we all got so mad about seeing Yoel Armia out there that we kind of forgot that on the other side of the ice, it was Lane Hudson.
Yeah.
It was again, sideshows. This team is just one sideshow after another. We should have been going, man, Lane Hudson's out there, and he put a goal on Yoel Armia's stick. He put 2 goals on Cole Caulfield's stick, and they all missed.
Yes.
Like, that's what we should be talking about. But then immediately we watch Christian Dvorak get trotted out there, who, like, what? There's no justifiable reason to put him out on a 5-on-3. I don't think, Slav went out on the second unit, fine. But I don't think, is Dvorak even on the second unit normally? I don't think he is. Like, that was a Marty choice.
Yeah. That was he actively made that decision, right? Unless someone wasn't ready to go, but I couldn't figure out if there's equipment issues on the bench or something, but that was the only reason. I was like, maybe just nobody else can go. And I did not agree with that. And
there shouldn't have been issues. And you know why there shouldn't have been issues? Because he called a friggin' timeout. There shouldn't have been any reason to put them out there. This is what I don't like. He called the timeout. He drew up the play he wanted, and he goes, Christian Dvorak, you're out there. That's crazy. That is not, there's no defensible way to do that. I'm sorry. I know it's very early in the season. I shouldn't be this.
It's really funny though. It is funny.
It's hilarious. If I wasn't so mad, I'd be laughing. It's unbelievably funny what Marty thinks he's doing.
It would be funny if it was happening to another team, right? That's where I'm at with this. It's so funny. It is unbelievable. Or he's trying to make a point to Christian Dvorak. Like maybe Dvorak is insisting he needs more ice time, or he wants more ice time. He's talking to his agent. He's not happy. And Marty's like, all right, here, go. I told you can't do this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's another explanation. It's just none of the explanations that I can think of are plausible.
No. One of the positives I'll take away from this game was the second line of Kirby Dach, Newhook, and Slavkovsky. Newhook looked like he came in determined. I really admired his game against Washington. He was carrying the puck. He was centering that line. He looked great. Dach looks all the way back. Slav looked really good. That line was great. The problem is the rest of them really weren't.
Yeah. And so I think there's an issue there with you can put Slav and Dach back together because it is working out. But until Patrick Laine is ready to go, you got to put somebody with talent up there. And I'm sorry, I know he's got a great shot, But Emil Heineman is not the guy to keep up with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield.
No.
All respect for him. Like, he tried his best. He's one of the ones that are working on this team. It's just the results don't justify him being on that top line, and the Canadiens need a better idea for that if they want to keep Slav with Doc. And I do want to say that, like, Newhook to me has been carrying that line, the him and Doc line, the entire time since the beginning of the season.
Yep. Yeah.
And he was the one I keep forgetting about. Like, in the offseason, I kept forgetting he was a Hab.
Yeah, exactly. I was willing to see the Heineman thing play out before making any kind of judgment. We saw it play out. I don't want to see it again. All right. Up next, maybe another player I don't want to see again, and Christian Dvorak. Is it time that he joins the Laval Rocket? We'll get into all that in just a minute. I love being in the middle of the action, whether that's taking in a concert or enjoying a night at the ballpark or the rink. It's just more fun being there. The place where you can go to get to the events you want to see is Gametime. We're big fans of Gametime here thanks to their all-in pricing. This is a setting in the app that you can toggle on so Gametime tells you exactly how much you'll be paying to get in. No hidden fees. Plus, with their seat views, you know what kind of action you'll be able to see. And with their lowest price guarantee, you know you're getting the best deal for your tickets. It's for all these reasons that I went to Gametime to secure tickets to the Habs game against the Islanders in October. And even though the Habs lost, I had a great night out with friends and some great seats at an even better price. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's Gametime. All right, we are back. And in a way, I am hoping Christian Dvorak is not. He played in all facets of the game, the worst game I've seen this season from a Canadiens forward. The goal, I forget what goal it was, but there was a goal that Washington scored where it was essentially set up by two incredibly bad plays by Christian Dvorak. He turned the puck over at the Canadiens' offensive blue line. And then, a lot of people are going to blame this on the defensive structure, on the hybrid when they go into zone behind behind Primo. But Christian Dvorak wins the puck battle and just puts the puck into the slot. Like, it's unbelievably bad play from Dvorak here. He then did it later. The Capitals didn't end up scoring, but he was behind the net. He was looking forward, and he just put a puck right up the middle of the ice that if any other player had done, I would expect to see them benched. And yet Christian Dvorak played the rest of the game. He got 5-on-3 time after that. So what is next for Christian Dvorak? Because it seems like his course has run with this team. It seems like they have outgrown him as an option for the fourth line, because he's on the fourth line and he's not an option for the position he's in. What do the Canadiens do here?
So it's really interesting because as you were talking about what he did in this game, I was about to ask you, and this is not the first time, like, how many other times can we think of that Christian Dvorak did not necessarily the exact same moves or the exact same plays, but whatever he did resulted in a goal against or high danger chances against. I think there is no room for him on this team. I don't think that's surprising to anybody. It's just this team has outgrown him.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's not an option. And this team has a history of taking veterans that are no longer an option in their role and sending them to Laval. We saw it with Yoel Armia last year, and it turned his game around. Yoel Armia came back up a different player than he went down. Maybe that can happen for Christian Dvorak. I hope it does. But it's something that, the Canadiens need to explore as an option if they want to, have more depth throughout their lineup. Where, Heineman's playing on the top line because they want two lines that can play. But they, then the third line has always been Gallagher, Armia, Anderson. They've been good all year. The fourth line has been a non-factor.
Exactly. You can't break up that third line.
No, it's the only line that you can count on to give you energy. Yeah. Yeah. And they play such a simple game too, that I'm like, why is the fourth line not playing like this? They skate to the blue line together, and then, whoever's on the near side or whoever has the puck just ends up rimming it around, and the guy on the other wing is just going full tilt into the corner. That's not a hard thing to do.
And where to be.
Right.
Like, that's
right. they have great chemistry together. Like Andrew or Evans and Gallagher are fantastic together. And there's no comp for that with Dvorak. He doesn't have a buddy. He doesn't have a guy where you go, well, we can't separate those two, you know?
Right.
So is this something that, we talked in Rumor Roundup about the Canadiens getting a forward with bite. Do we have to add a forward with bite that can also play center in order to solve this, or is the solution on this roster somewhere?
I think the solution is actually on this roster, I think, or in the pipeline. I don't necessarily think that they have to go trade, but like, if you can get rid of Dvorak and get like an equivalent guy, but who doesn't make these boneheaded mistakes all the time to kind of play on that fourth line, I would be much happier.
Yeah. We have a question in the mailbag later that is around this, and I have a potential solution that I'm very excited to show the world. Is one option potentially Oliver Kapanen?
Yes.
They use him at center sparingly, and I've really liked him at center, and I don't know
I think he
why
plays
he's
Yeah, he
yeah.
plays better at center than the wing. I think it's probably because he's too talented to waste on the fourth line. He's too skilled to waste on the fourth line, but I mean, this is his first year. Put
Well, and
him
that's where
there,
they're
it's
playing him
fine.
anyway. He's on the
Yeah.
wing, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I feel like they keep him in like what I'm calling now the Emil Heineman spot, which is like, we're going to move you up whenever we feel like it, even if it doesn't make sense. I just would expect better from Kapanen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. It's like, I don't think this team needs Dvorak in any way. And it was fine when it was neutral, but now he's actively harming them.
Yeah. He was sort of you know, a Mendoza line kind of player where it was he was just Guy, and that was fine. He could just be Guy, and it didn't hurt them in any way, shape, or form. Now you are absolutely bang on. Like he's the pendulum has swung in the other direction, where now Christian Dvorak is actively harming the Canadiens' chances to win on any given night. Um, I think one of the options that I would like, and this isn't a player that's playing now, but a Nate Thompson type guy would really be welcomed on that line, I think.
That's who belongs there, not
Yeah,
Christian.
right. Christian Dvorak is a bad second line center. He's not a good fourth line center. And I think those are different kinds of players, right? Nate Thompson was a guy that you would put out there to win you a game late, win a key face-off late. I don't have any kind of faith in Christian Dvorak doing that. I mean, the game I went to against the Islanders, it felt like he lost every face-off he went up to take. It was bad. I remember the game against Boston. He lost like 2 defensive zone faceoffs on the same power play, and they ended up getting scored on. So like
Yeah.
they keep trying to use him. They think that they have to use him because he's one of the most veteran players on the team, but it's actively harming them. He's having a rotten start to the season, and I really just think that like before you entertain trading him, I think a trip to Laval is needed here.
I think it would be really like, it could be a wake-up call. It's happened in the past. It's insulting. And you know what? Yoel Armia did that and never looked back when he came back.
Yep. Yeah,
He
absolutely.
doesn't
And
go
it's
long on
funny.
the power play on a 5-1-3, but
No. And it's funny, we were talking about at the beginning of the season that being Josh Anderson, right? We were talking about him starting the season in Laval. And then he came into the season a completely like a changed player. I don't know if that was ever on the table for the Canadiens, but it seems like something lit a fire under Josh Anderson to start this season, and he simplified his game. You watch Josh Anderson play, he's not doing anything where you're like, this guy is an elite player. He's playing hard. He skates north-south better than most players at least on this team. I really think that he's simplified his game. Christian Dvorak tries to do so many things. He overthinks just about every play that he's making. We talked about that with Logan Mailloux. It's the same thing with Dvorak. He's oftentimes just overthinking, double thinking, making a puck, putting a puck somewhere that he shouldn't. And it's something that, like I said, is harming the Canadiens. And I would much rather see Kapanen in that spot, at least getting the reps as a center in the NHL to see what he's got, than watching Christian Dvorak, who is gone after this year. And this year is not good. So, the Canadiens are trying to balance the results with process and like the future, but right, like that choice isn't a good one.
so really quickly before, because I know we do need to get into our mailbag segment. But you just talked about Josh Anderson, and we were knocking him all year long.
Yeah.
And what was the difference? What's the difference is that he all last year, he tried to be something that he wasn't. And what it was the contract that he signed. Like, he was trying to justify the dollar amount and the time. The length, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I don't think that, it's a bad thing that he's playing on the third line, because it's better for him to understand what he is, what his strengths are, play to the strengths, and work really hard, not try to be someone he's not. And it's working out for him. Yes, it's overpriced for a third line guy, but so is Brendan Gallagher. Like, we're paying a lot of money to these two guys to be on the third line, but neither of them is trying to do too much or trying too hard, and they're playing exactly how we need them to play, and we're always praising them night in and night out. And it's just, you have to accept that that's not who you are, and play to your own strengths. And that's what Josh Anderson is doing, as well as apparently trying to fight. And I mean, we didn't even have time to talk about that, but we do have to get to our mailbag. But that's what I'm saying, is that Christian Dvorak needs to kind of understand what he's not, stop trying too hard, and settle down and bring value. And he's not bringing value right now.
Absolutely. And we don't have the mayor of Montreal telling him that he needs to go to, at the time, was it Hamilton still? I can't remember. It was when
Hamilton. It was David Desharnais. Yeah.
Yeah. That was that's a moment in time. Anyway, it's a moment in time to discuss another time. It's in our last segment, we are hitting our favorite segment of the week. It's the mailbag, and we'll get into all your really great questions in just a moment. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Laura, home stretch for the week. We're sending our friends and our listeners off with our favorite thing, the mailbag.
But before you do that,
yes,
explain the mustache.
Oh, yeah, that. I'm doing a Movember campaign this year. I don't know that I'll have the account and everything ready by the time you're listening to this, but keep an eye out for it on Twitter at maybe it's Ian. You'll see me talking about it. Movember is a great foundation that raises money for men's health awareness. The men are dying very, very young for a variety of different reasons. The one that hits home most for me is mental health. I've dealt with my own stuff. I'm much better now, but it's, a daily thing. And a lot of people need, to be told that others are going through that in order to feel the safety to go and tackle it themselves. So Movember Foundation, they do a lot of great work. If you can donate, please do. If not, I know in this economy, I don't expect donations, but if you would like to donate, there will be a link soon, probably not on this episode, but in the future. And I'll have this horrible mustache for the month of November. And I can't wait to see the Canadians. They always have really bad mustaches. Maybe Gallagher can finally grow one at this point in time. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right. We'll start the mailbag with our friend Molitars. Hi, Ian and Laura. Love the rumor roundup segment. 10 out of 5 yeehaws. That's great. Love to see that. And this becomes a weekly segment.
So that was our plan.
Yeah, it was. But early in the season, there's not much to go on. It's it's tumbleweed time as far as trade rumors go. I'm glad you like it. I like doing it. It's a dumb bit that I'm really glad people like. So yes, we'll be doing it regularly, especially as we get closer to trade season. It'll be a lot of fun then.
That was the first idea we came up with as new co-hosts. We were very excited about it. And yes, that was the plan, was to have it weekly. But like Ian said, there's not a whole lot going on, but we expect it to heat up, right? It goes up in let's say American Thanksgiving. That seems to be the benchmark for a lot of NHL things.
Yeah, for sure. Molitars also asked for the mailbag. Imagine Ivan Demidov comes over in the spring at the end of his KHL season and plays a handful of games with the Habs, with 11 and 91 being taken. What number do you think it would be fun to see on Demidov's back? It's a fun question. Do you have any numbers that jump out to you as one you would like to see him wear?
No, not particularly, but I'm not big on numbers, but I know a lot of people are really serious about numbers.
Yeah. Though I went with him, I would like to see him kind of chart his own path. I know, like my first thought was, oh, wear 27, so it's like Kovalev. No, he needs to be his own guy. So I picked 93. He wears 91 now. 93 has only been worn once in Canadiens history. Do you know who it was?
I feel like I remember. It's a remember some dude guy.
It's Doug Gilmour.
Doug
So
Gilmour.
Montreal Canadiens legend Doug Gilmour wore it for one season. So I feel like that's a good one for him to take because almost no one else has worn it. But we'll see when he comes over what number he ends up taking. I hope it's not an ugly one. 93 would be cool. If a former Montreal Canadiens captain is wearing 67 with the Leafs, we can have a Canadiens player wear 93. Moving on to our friend Robert Rice. So with a definite need to shore up the right side on the Habs defense for next season, is it time for Kent Hughes to be a mad lad, as they might say in some places, and throw an offer sheet on a right-handed defenseman this summer? Totally not asking because I fantasize about rescuing Evan Bouchard from the quagmire that is Edmonton. In all seriousness, do you think Hughes will go down that road to add to this team? Do you like the idea of an offer sheet?
I like the idea of an offer sheet depending on who it is. I think it's bold. I think GMs should use it a lot more often. And I think we should stop getting mad every time one does. We always go like, oh, the audacity. No, this is it's in the rule book. Take advantage of it. It's frowned upon or whatever. You're ruining your relationship with other GMs. This is a thing. Like, if you want to keep that asset, lock it up.
Yeah. I think that the time to do this would have been this past summer. And I say that because the draft picks, Montreal has 12 picks this upcoming draft, which are the ones that would have to be used as compensation. But from a cap dollar perspective, this upcoming summer makes the most sense because they'll have more money. So I feel like if the Canadiens had this on top of mind as a tool they were going to use, they would have kind of made those moments happen together. They would have acquired more 2026 picks instead of 25. It's not to say they can't do it because they own all of their picks in both of those years, but it's just something that came to mind with that question. And with the cap going up next year again, I think it's if the Canadiens see something out there they want to do, I think it's a great tool to use. Randy Hansen, do the Canadiens have anyone in the skills department that teaches faceoffs? Considering the importance of this skill, why do teams not have a specialist coach for this? This seems like Adam Nicholas territory, doesn't it?
I feel like, he has done the basic skills with them at least once. And I think, all the centers, other than Owen Beck, all the centers need some work, including Nick Suzuki. I love Nick Suzuki. He worked really hard on it this year. He's doing okay. But, there are moments where faceoffs are important. I don't think you lose a game entirely on faceoffs, but you lose plays and you lose the zone on faceoffs sometimes. So that's what I would like to see, is I'd like to see them work harder at it. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are, how many years you've been in the NHL. Like, if your faceoff percentages are not like handily beating the other team, you need to work on them.
Yeah, I think so they came into the Thursday's game with the 5th worst faceoff percentage in the league.
There you go.
For me, it's not that number that bothers me so much. It's where they're losing them. They lose a lot of defensive zone draws, and it just it makes their defensive zone issues that much more noticeable because they're always behind the 8 ball in their own zone. So that to me is what's most important. But yeah, they work on faceoffs in practice. I don't know that they have like a Manny Malhotra type who's there to just help them win draws, but that is what it is. Gino asks, with the young D in Montreal, is Robitaille the best option as the D coach? There has to be a better option. Do you think there's a better option out there to coach the defense in Montreal?
There has to be. I agree with that. There has to be statement. We kind of talked about it a few episodes ago. Is it time for Robitaille, for us to ask questions about Robitaille? And I think, somebody said, is there any chance that Marty and Kent Hughes can coax Ray Bourque to come and be a Montreal Canadian? And I was like, that man is not going to be a Montreal Canadian.
No, for sure. It'd be cool, but no, he's not going to do it.
Absolutely not.
I was kind of interested at the time when Marty was brought in that maybe Guy Boucher would be interested in joining the staff. He was Marty's coach in Tampa, but that didn't end super well. He played a system that I think drove a player like Marty nuts. So I don't know that that's something that could happen, but that's a guy I might be interested in. Dill asks, what are some realistic targets for trades this year? Do you have anything? I have one.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're going to say, and I know who you're going to trade.
Yeah. So pending UFA, and he has a $2.45 million cap hit. And he also has no trade protection. He has 6 points in 11 games. He is a center. He is 57% at the faceoff dot. He knows the market. He scored here twice recently. One Lars Eller. Bring him back. 4th line center.
Lars' adult son.
Yeah. Come on. That'd be so fun. I don't know. They're not taking a Dvorak trade for that, but a boy can dream.
Yeah.
Last question from Tim Hill. This one's kind of nice. What is something you're incredibly proud of?
Oh, that's interesting. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. I mean, I've been playing the guitar since I was 12 or so. I've never taken a lesson, and I've sort of taught myself how to play it. I've been bad for a long time, but I'm starting to get actually somewhat decent at it. So that's pretty exciting for me. I'm pretty proud of that. It's something that I just picked up myself and enjoy doing. So that's what I'll say. My guitar playing.
So, for those who don't know, I have a corporate career in my other life, and I will be changing jobs very soon. I got a new role, um, but I've been a people manager for a little over 3 years now, and I think one of the things that I'm the most proud of is watching the people that I manage grow. And it sounds so corny, and also like work is not my entire life, but that is something that obviously as I come to as I come to the end of this current role that I have, I've been reflecting a lot, and I'm so proud of my people, and I'm so proud of being able to watch them and help them grow, and that's going to be something where I will always be happy and proud for that.
Aw, that was nice. Very cool. All right, let's hit our trivia and then get out of here. Where do we go? Thomas Buchanan scored 233 goals in the regular season throughout his career, none of which for the Leafs. He scored his 233rd goal back where he belonged in a Canadiens uniform on October 15th, 2018. Who assisted on that goal? This was a true sicko question for me. I apologize. I stumped Scott. I stumped Laura. The answer, there's two answers. It's Matthew Pekka and Noah Juleson, which is just hilarious. So sorry about that one. I was just trying to get festive with Thomas Plekanec's birthday. So happy birthday, Tommy. All right. Today's question. Montreal's last 5-on-3 goal came on December 3rd, 2022. Who scored it? So their
All right.
last 5-on-3 goal came on December 3rd, 2022. Who scored it? If you know the answer, put it down in the comments. We will pin whoever gets it first. But that's going to do it for us today on this episode of Locked On Canadiens. Thanks so much for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, head over to Locked On NHL to see what else is going on around the league. As a reminder, we are free and available everywhere you get your podcasts, including YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to Locked On Canadiens so you don't miss an episode. You can follow the show on Twitter at LO_Canadiens or email us at lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com. You can find Laura at The Active Stick. You can find me at Maybe It's Ian. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.